And tonight, that advocating those policies now, when the public have had the opportunity, you know, to see what it's all about, that we don't do too badly. I won't put it higher than that because I have a very great reverence for the democratic process, and I'm not going to let public opinion polls or any sort of forecast interfere with waiting for the people of Chesterfield who have not spoken yet. So let's leave it for them till we hear.
Can I ask you about the campaign? I mean, you've had your run-ins, as sometimes happens between yourself and the media. Do you feel that you've been able to get your message across this time?
Well, it's been strange. I think the local media, the Derbyshire Times and the Chesterfield Star and the Gazette and Radio Sheffield and the local media, perhaps Yorkshire Television, I haven't seen much of it, have been fair. I suppose if I look at the national papers, the only paper that has given really fair coverage to the Labour Party over the years is the Morning Star, because it's consistently supported us. And we've had, for the rest, some of the funniest sort of tabloid rubbish, and broadcasters who've tended to be less interested in unemployment and health and housing and peace than in going to their computers and calculating what people should be doing. And I think tactical voting as a subject is destructive of democracy. I think unless people can speak to one another and hear the arguments and not be diverted by a lot of pundits and pollsters, unless we can do that, there is a danger that democracy could be undermined in Britain. So that's my general feeling. But the media coverage has been studied very carefully and I think will be the subject of special analysis later. I hope so anyway.
Well, Mr. Benn, I'm getting the impression that the count is, or the declaration is not too far away, so we must let you take a place. But thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you.
OK, well, we've all been watching Mr. Benn and listening to that. Let's just take up a few of those points. And he...
What for? I'm stuck. Right. Oh. Well, it looks as though the moment we've all been waiting for is imminent. That's the Mayor of Chesterfield, Councillor Ronald Jepson, testing the acoustics, as often tends to happen on these occasions, finding them slightly wanting. Next to him is the acting returning officer, Dennis Harrison, who's the Chief Executive for the Borough of Chesterfield. And it really does look as though the work of the 51 counters is over. They're all civil servants, people who work at County Hall and the Town Hall, and in for a bit of overtime, well-deserved overtime tonight, because they've had to work very hard indeed. Now we can see the candidates are assembling up there on the platform. Nick Bourne over there on the right of your picture, next to the Mayor. That's Chris Hill, the number 6, I'm a Prisoner, and the black blazer, the white stripe. Tony Benn being marshalled into place by the Mayor. And that's the far left of your picture, that's the yoga candidate. Rubbing his hands there next to the Mayor is the Acne candidate. Four-wheel drive hatchback next to him. You'll never see a lineup like this again, I think. Because when the deposit for candidates goes up from £150 to £1,000, I really doubt that a lot of these sort of people will be able to afford to stand. There's one figure, incidentally, who's missing, who often stands at these elections and by-elections, and that's the figure of Commander Bill Boakes, sadly missed. He actually was, I think, planning on standing, but was involved in a road accident when he was canvassing on his bicycle, and he was knocked off his bicycle and is has not been well enough to stand here in Chesterfield. It's the figure of Helen Anscombe, whose face partly obscured at the back, death off the roads, freight on the railways. Now obscured, taken up Mr. Benn. Perhaps she will have been also. Now, what is going to happen now is that the public, I think, are going to be allowed in to hear this declaration, because the weather outside is pretty unpleasant. But now the photographers are scrambling, quite unprecedented scenes. There's photographers there, pushing and scuffling with each other to get their pictures. I must say it's on moments like this that
they've let them in.
I prefer to be a television commentator who can keep in the background. And here come the public, look like exuberant Mr. Benn supporters coming in. Well, the man shaking his hands there is David Carhill. He's the man who wants the Sun newspaper reclassified as a comic. Now, he told me earlier on in the campaign that he didn't want any votes at all. And Mr. Carhill appears to be leading the singing. The Tony Benn fan club in fine voice. I must say, I wouldn't like either to be Councillor Ronald Jepson, the Mayor, tonight. He's going to try and shout above all this. Not quite sure whether they're singing with enthusiasm or just to keep warm. It is very cold and very damp out there at the moment. Usual shouts of appreciation of the Prime Minister. Lord David Such, the monster raving loony party, last stand. He's managed to get himself right next to Mr. Benn.
Not on you.
Never one to Mr. Chance for publicity is David Such.
Down. Down.
Goodness knows where all these people were standing outside the Goldwell rooms on a fairly narrow street. I shouldn't think much traffic's been able to get down here the last couple of hours if all these people who are coming in have been standing outside.
They're not moving, are they?
Mr. Harrison, the Deputy Returning Officer, looking round.
I enjoyed meeting you very much indeed.
Six two, 6-4. Is that the majority? 6-2, 6-4. Well, judging from the look on Mr. Benn's face, I don't think there's much doubt that he's won. Judging from the Mayor's face, I think he's about to do what we've all been waiting for.
Are they all right? No power. Not on. No, not yet.
You know you've got more press than we have at our meetings.
Can't really imagine what Lord David Such and Mr. Benn have to say to each other.
You get any more press in? Can you let some more press in?
I've never seen so many cameras in my life.
Some of the members of the crowd echoing the sentiments of those of us who've been here all evening. Get on with it, they say.
May I have your attention, ladies and gentlemen, please?
Right, that's just the Deputy
Please,
Returning
may I have
Officer,
your
Dennis
attention?
Harrison,
Let's get
appealing
on
for a
with
little
the
order and
job,
calm.
okay? I, Ronald Jepson, being the returning officer for the Chesterfield constituency, hereby give notice that the total number of votes given for each candidate at the election was as follows. Helen Mary Anscombe,
Death off the roads.
34. Jitendra June Nimbazwa,
Yoga.
33. Anthony Neil Wedgwood Benn,
Labour.
24,633.
So that's the figure that Max Payne has to
David
beat.
Edward Bentley, 116.
He's the four-wheel drive candidate,
Nicholas Henry Bourne,
Conservative.
8,058.
But he has saved his deposit by your Chesterfield 10 party.
David Michael Cahill,
Sun newspapers are comic.
12.
But he wanted
John
none.
Connell,
Peace.
7. John Victor Davey,
No increase in dental charges.
83. Christopher Stewart Hill,
Prisoner.
17. Thomas Arthur Layton,
Spare the earth ecology.
46. Bill Maynard,
Independent.
1,355. Paul Nicholas Jones,
Independent.
22. Max Gascoigne Payne,
Alliance.
18,000.
So Tony Benn has won. Tony Benn is the new MP for Chesterfield. Labour hold Chesterfield.
Renato Piccaro,
Acne.
15. Sid David Shaw,
Elvis Lee yours.
20. Lord David Such,
Monster Raving Looney.
178.
So there we are, that's all the candidates. Tony Benn has held Chesterfield for Labour. His majority is 6,264. That actually is a reduction on the majority of Eric Varley at the general election.
I hereby declare that Anthony Neil Wedgwood Benn has been duly elected to serve as a member of the constituency.
There you have it, Labour's majority, 6,264. And that compares with Eric Varley's majority at the general election of 7,763. But now here is Tony Benn to make his victory speech. Tony Benn, MP, the new MP for Chesterfield.
Please let me speak. No, please let me speak. Mr. Mayor, I would like first of all to thank the people of Chesterfield who have today put their confidence in me as their new Member of Parliament, which is a trust that I shall discharge to the best of my ability for so long, but only for so long, as the people of Chesterfield wish me to be their member. Secondly, I would like to repeat the thanks I gave in Bristol last summer to the Chartists and the suffragettes who fought and won for the people of Chesterfield the right to choose their Member of Parliament. I would also like to thank the Chesterfield Labour Party for selecting me as its candidate. I would like to thank all those who worked in this town under the agent Peter Coleman, the three-quarters of the... No, listen, please listen. I would like to thank all the people who came from all over the country, from Scotland, from Wales, from the West Country, from Liverpool, from London, from Bristol, and from East Anglia, who came to help in this campaign because they correctly recognized that in the vote that was cast on March the 1st, there was hope for them in their future as well as hope for the people of this town. And I would like to thank as well the leader of the party, Neil Kinnock and Roy Hattersley. I would like to thank Dennis Healy and Dennis Skinner and Joan Maynard and Ken Livingston and all the people who came up to assist, including three-quarters of the Parliamentary Labour Party. And I hope and believe that in this campaign we helped to unify the Labour Party for its historic task, of replacing the present government by a government which will give a better chance for our people. And if I may say one other word as well. As you will have seen from the votes that have been declared, we won more votes than the former member who had been here for 20 years. And the reason that I cite that is because I hope the campaign has done something else as well. I hope it has demonstrated to people in the labour movement, the trade unions and the party up and down the country, that the passionate advocacy of socialism and of the policies of the party is a way of winning support and of helping people to see their way through the crisis that we now have. Thank you very much indeed.
So that was Tony Benn, MP, making his acceptance speech, pointing out he actually has got more votes than Eric Barley at the last general election, although in fact his majority is down. I'd imagine now we're going to hear from Max Payne, who's improved his performance considerably.
Order, please.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to congratulate the winner of this election, Mr. Tony Benn, and may I also welcome his supporters to Chesterfield, and may I express my sadness that they weren't more in evidence in the manner they are at the moment during the campaign. The winner of this election has pronounced on its importance. The winner of this election has pronounced on the importance of this election. I would add one or two additional points. The political battle continues. I am delighted to win more support for the alliance every minute you hit on me. What happened this time was the Labour candidate got a lower percentage.
Mr. Payne has asked me to ask people to listen to him in silence. And I think, well, I think it is reasonable that any candidate who has fought in the election should be listened to with courtesy. And I appeal to all those perhaps to listen to what he has to say. And I'm sure that the feelings released by the election, which are very understandable in view of what was said, should be held in check while we hear from Mr. Payne what he wishes to say to us.
I thank the winning candidate for his courtesy. I think that the processes of democracy are sufficiently important for political divisions occasionally to be forgotten. In this election, the successful candidate has got a smaller percentage of the total vote cast than the Labour Party did when it fought the most disastrous election since 1935. The alliance vote has gone up from under 20% to 35%. We nearly overtook Labour.
Last summer, which, considering the fact he'd been there for 20 years, was remarkable, and I think particularly as he'd left the seat which he was elected to only 8 months ago. That's normally a big negative factor, and I think we've overcome that. We've reached about half the people in the town. About 13,000 have come to the meetings, and we've unified the party, put forward with passion and commitment the policies of the conference, and shown that it can attract more votes than we had last summer. It's only a beginning, but in my opinion, a very significant beginning. I'd like to thank everybody.
Caroline, do you want to say?
No. Right, okay.
Thank you very much.
Fine, right, thanks a lot. Now, I wonder...
And that's the scene of the count. Tony King, very quickly, you were going to say whether you still stood by your judgment of Labour's performance.
Marginal win. It was a very, very good win and came along leading the field and run it in a canter.
That'll terrify me.
All right, and Cecil Parkinson,
Very
your
good.
man, 8,028 into third place. If you were the boss of Central Office now, would you have an inquest on Monday morning?
I'd be disappointed, and I always had an inquest after every by-election, whether we'd done well or badly. But I would just say there is a danger in doing what Mitch did, of extrapolating on the basis.
Well, if you've time before you go to bed, you might know.